First of all, your scientists, many of them, now understand that the so-called Big Bang is not necessarily the beginning of everything. It's just the beginning of your particular universe, yes?
Right.
But infinity is infinity. And there are many Big Bangs, as you say, many cycles that occur within infinity. Many universes, what your scientists have come to understand as the multiverse. So really, there are many Big Bangs. But in terms of your particular universe and its so-called beginning, the idea is, again, as an analogy, as an illustration, imagine, if you will, that there is only one particle and nothing else. All right? If you wish to represent this as simply a tiny subatomic particle floating in a big, empty, infinite black void, that's all right. It will do for the purposes of the illustration, even if that's not necessarily literally true.
Right.
So, now imagine that because there is only this one subatomic particle, it has absolutely nothing else to relate to, yes?
Right.
So there really is no gravity, there really is no sense of mass, there's really no sense of space or time. It just exists as a point of pure existence.
Right.
Thus then, it is capable of doing anything and everything imaginable. In other words, it can travel at infinite speed. Nothing holds it back. There are no laws of physics yet. You follow me?
Yes.
Thus, if you understand that that single particle can travel throughout that void, that big infinite void at infinite speed, then that means that particle can actually appear to be everywhere at once. Yes?
Right.
Thus, it can actually appear to be an infinite number of particles, even though it's actually only one particle.
That makes sense.
That's the Big Bang. Now, the pattern in which it did that, again, as an analogy, similar to the pattern of lines you see on the holotope across the room. The idea is that it will create that infinite speed pathway in a kind of what you would call a geometrically radiating form. Where it doesn't cross its path, it will be simply what you call, well, almost emptiness. Where it starts to cross its own path, it builds up, in a sense, more and more densification and becomes something more akin to what you recognize as energy and then matter. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, in a sense, the places where it crosses itself the most creates what you understand as the experience you call dense matter and what you think your universe is made of. But what your scientists are now beginning to explore is the idea that the majority of your universe is made up of dark matter, dark energy that is highly invisible to you.
That's right.
Well, the dark matter and dark energy is where the single particle crosses its own path less. It isn't as dense, but it forms the majority of the material that makes up your physical universe. Because it only crosses itself a very few times in a very dense way to create that small amount of matter, relatively speaking, that creates all the matter you can perceive in your physical reality.
Right.
Understand?
Yes.
And that's also what creates the idea you call gravity and all the forces. In that sense, it is actually interconnected because, in a sense, it's like a web. And it is that web, it is the pathway itself, the geometric path itself, in a sense, that creates that connectivity, the stretchability and malleability that you interpret as the idea of gravitational or electromagnetic or strong or weak nuclear forces.
Who triggered this movement for having an infinite space in an infinite?
There is no beginning.
Means what happened? Some people are saying that God triggered this.
Existence only has one quality: to exist. Remember, time is subject to existence. Existence is not subject to time. Time is a creation within existence. Therefore, existence itself is timeless and has no beginning and no ending. It just is. It's just the now. But again, to use an analogy that works in your space-time framework, imagine this, that there is the one, that everything is, but in the state we call the one, there's no reflectivity, there's no self-awareness. It doesn't know itself. But because it does contain everything, it also contains the idea of that which it is, shall we say, not, so to speak. Thus, then that creates the first separation, the first difference, the first reflection.
Right.
And as that first reflection explodes, in a sense, from the one that doesn't know itself, it suddenly knows itself. The first reflection, and the one becomes aware that it is all that is. And that is also, on that level, what is behind that expansion, behind that explosion. But the one is not subject to it. The explosion only happens from the perspective of all that is, which recognizes itself as the one, which knows itself as the one, which has the reflection, which sees a difference. But the one sees no difference. The one is just the one and doesn't know itself. And so there is no big bang in the one. The one is just existence itself, pure and simple. And the big bang happened, in a sense, when the one suddenly became all that is and knew itself as all that is and had a reflection of itself as everything that could possibly be.
Is anything triggered this, or it happened by itself?
The recognition is what triggered it. But again, you're speaking from within a linear space-time framework. There is no time in the one and no triggering in the one.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, it's not this or that, it's this and that. Within the idea of things that get triggered and things that have beginnings and endings, overriding that and containing that is simply existence, the one to which those ideas simply don't apply. So triggering can occur within the one, but the one cannot be triggered because the one just is. Doesn't know anything else, is not subject to beginnings and endings. There's nothing outside of it. No beginning, no ending. Those concepts don't apply to existence. They don't apply to the one. They only exist within the one.
I want to say good day to you this day, your time. How are you all? Once again, we take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for allowing this transmission to occur through this particular window, on this particular day, and in this particular manner. Once again, each and every time you allow this transmission to be translated through this gateway in this way, it affords our civilization an opportunity to experience new facets and new aspects of creation through the interaction of each and every one of you and your unique presentation of creation. So we thank you for this gift of sharing. We would like to begin this transmission this day of your time with the following notion. We would like to call this following subject the eye of the beholder. We have recently discussed with some of you a new understanding, a new perspective to the question that some of you have had for many years. We have heard many of your people ask about when certain kinds of contact with extraterrestrial species would occur more openly, and we have discussed with many of you for many years some of the reasons as to why this is not yet appropriate. We have talked, and we will now recap briefly the idea about how when civilizations are full of people that are operating on a particular wavelength, a particular frequency of energy, and if that frequency is lower in general than the frequency of energy exhibited by another civilization, then to put the higher frequency civilization in contact with the lower frequency civilization before the lower frequency civilization is ready can actually do harm, because when two frequencies are brought together, the higher one tends to overwhelm the lower one in the specific manner of forcing the lower frequency to speed up. And when your frequency speeds up, that is representative of all the things you have hidden within your consciousness, your psyche, all the fears, all the doubts, being forced to the surface before you may be ready to integrate them, to process them at your own pace, in your own way. And so, civilizations that are of higher frequency, who have respect, will not force themselves upon a lower frequency civilization. And by lower frequency, of course, once again, this is not meant in a judgmental way. It is simply that different people, different civilizations are at different places evolutionarily. And it must be, shall we say, cautionary in how these contacts are made, so as not to do damage, so as not to disrupt, but in respectful manner. And we have talked about this many times. Now, we would like to add one more idea, one more understanding of the effect that encountering an alien species would have upon many of you. Many of you already know that when certain occurrences, life-changing occurrences, happen to you, you look at things very differently. Your perspective of life changes. Your perspective of other people changes. This would be greatly amplified were you to suddenly, at this present point in your evolution, come face to face with some species of other civilizations. In seeing them, in knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are, in your terms, real and present, it would alter not only how you look at things in general, but very specifically would alter how you look at members of your own species. You would never look at humans the same way again. To actually encounter a member of another race from another civilization changes your perspective about all life, all consciousness, especially because of the difference in frequency that you would be subjected to in encountering another species. And when you turn back around and look at your own species, you will not see them the same way. You will not necessarily even see them as real. You will no longer be able to relate to them in the same way. And while there is nothing intrinsically wrong with this, when done without proper preparation, it can be to some degree damaging in your outlook in life. Damaging because you will no longer feel that you fit in, even more so than many of you feel that way now. And the idea is that would literally be alienating to many of you. It is important, from our perspective at least, in our opinion at least, that you remain cohesive even in the changes that you make. For even as many of you change and even as many of you feel very different from other members of your society, you are still of a kind. You are still of an ilk. The difference we are talking about, the profoundness of the change, would be something beyond what you are used to experiencing. You would truly, in many ways, be alien. And it would not serve you to not be able to fit in certain ways at this time. Until such time as the integration within each and every one of you has taken place to a greater degree than it has right now, until that time, then, physical contact is held back on the part of most species. We know that there are, of course, certain species that are in connection, are in contact with your species, but these have very different agendas, are interacting for very different reasons, and are of very different vibration than many of the species we are talking about that have higher resonances. So do not be impatient for this. The most important thing is to make contact with yourselves, to integrate yourselves, to recognize the differences, to cherish them, to amplify and expand in creative ways upon the diversity within your own culture before you are ready to take the step in learning how to integrate the differences and diversity in other cultures altogether. So we simply offer to you this additional reason for why there is specificity in the timing of when these things will occur. It will not really be so very long. Again, as we have said, the beginnings of some of these encounters will occur within the next decade and will increase and accelerate thereafter as certain changes occur in your society. The point is to simply live your life, not detach yourself from earthly concerns, but recognize that you chose to be where you are for your own reasons, and the idea is to get in touch with those reasons so that you can help not only change yourself, but help others change in beneficial and positive ways according to their own desires and choices, so that in so doing and cherishing your own diversity, you then create the blending and the integration necessary to be capable of presenting yourself as a cohesive planet to other cohesive planets. Then and there will contact be made. Only when you meet us halfway. Until such time, this is the nature of contact now, in that people have been, so to speak, trained to allow conversation and communication and transmissions to occur in this and other similar manners, so that we can have an exchange of ideas without forcing our presence upon you, so that we can leave it up to you to decide whether or not you believe we are real. For we do not care if you believe we are real. We know we are real. The thing that matters is whether you believe in yourselves. That is the most important thing we can impart to any of you. You must believe in yourself, first and foremost. For each of you is a unique aspect of creation and worthy of absolute, full recognition of that fact and unconditional support in that knowing. We thank you for allowing us to share this point of view with you this day of your time. And once again, in return for the gift that you are giving to our world, in allowing us to share in this exchange with you, I ask in return, in what way may I be of service to you now?
Greetings, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I was going to ask you if you could give me a tip on identifying negative beliefs. I seem to be having a...
All right. Well, that's easily done. If you are having or are aware of the fact that you have a negative belief, then identifying it simply is the process of acknowledging it and actually amplifying it and asking the question, what am I absolutely terrified might happen if I actually became who I prefer to be? What's the answer?
What am I terrified of?
Yes. What are you afraid will happen if you allow yourself to move forward in the way that you would prefer to?
Well, see, that's why I don't understand. That's why I seem to be confused, because I know all the stuff.
No, you don't, obviously.
Well, I know that it's...
You have an intellectual comprehension of it, but to know something means it's in your
Action.
behavior.
Right.
Knowledge and behavior are synonymous. If I asked you to walk across the room, you wouldn't hesitate. You would just walk because you know how to do that. That's in your behavior. That's what you know you are capable of. If it's not in your behavior, you don't know it. You just have an intellectual comprehension of it.
Okay, so how
So,
can I instill...
Let's go back to the idea. I'll ask the question in a different way. Are you acting on your highest excitement every moment that you possibly can with zero insistence on a particular outcome? Yes or no?
Yes, except for when I'm not.
All right. You don't have to be clever about it, because obviously we wouldn't be having this conversation if the answer was yes all the time,
Right.
correct?
Right, well, that's what I'm saying.
Therefore, when I asked you if you were doing that, you could say not all the time.
Right.
And that's what we're addressing. Yes?
Yes.
So can you give us an example of a time when you're not?
When I'm not acting on my highest joy, when I'm fighting with somebody or...
Why are you
having
fighting?
Problems. That's the whole thing, is I don't even know. It seems
Oh,
like
come on.
It seems like I create problems.
Yes.
And then later I can't even figure out why.
What are you afraid of will happen? What are you afraid will happen? The moment that you start fighting, you're afraid of something. You're afraid you won't get something
Maybe
that you need.
somebody, losing
Relationship. Something. All right. Is that the fear?
Yeah, I think so, maybe.
All right. So why are you afraid you will lose something?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. Of course you do. What will happen if in your mind something is lost? And can you be more specific about what it is you're afraid of losing?
Well, I was just thinking of having a fight with my girlfriend
All
over the
right.
craziest, stupidest stuff.
Yes, but you understand that the reason it's, in your words, the craziest, stupidest stuff is because you're still focused on the surface and you get triggered by simple things because there's a deeper issue, there's a deeper fear.
Right.
Many times when people on your planet fight, they're not actually fighting about the things they're fighting about. Those are just surface excuses to let people know that there is something deeper going on within you that you're afraid to look at. But when you are not afraid to look at it and bring it to the surface, then you can deal with the real issue. So what's the real issue? What are you really afraid of? When suddenly you feel that you're triggered and that your response has to be that you're fighting, what are you really deeply afraid will happen?
Honestly, I don't know. That's why I'm
Yes,
coming to you, hoping you can get it out of me.
You do. All right. Well, we'll pull harder if you want us to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for. I want
I
real
understand.
solutions. I'm not just beating
understand.
around.
I understand. But it's not so much that you want solutions. What you need are processes.
Okay.
And again, the idea is you need honest self-investigation, first and foremost. You have to be willing to dig down deep and not be afraid to be afraid. That's the first step. It has to be okay that you're afraid. You can't gloss it over. You can't be in denial about it. You may have a negative belief system that actually generates extremely deep fear within you. And you have to dig down and find out what this is. You can't be afraid to be afraid. You can't be afraid to find it. But I will tell you a little secret.
Okay.
When people find that they have this so-called deep fear and they say, well, I just don't know what it is, it's generally because they have a belief, probably an unconscious belief, that if they actually did dig down and find out what it is, they're afraid that they might discover that it's actually true.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
That you'll discover something truly negative about yourself that is absolutely the truth. That you are either unworthy, undeserving, inconsequential. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And it is usually those issues that people on your planet avoid looking at because they're afraid that if they look at that, they will realize it is true. The secret is it can never be true. Ever. You can create the illusion and the experience that it's true, but it can never be true that you are unworthy. It can never be true that you are undeserving of joy. It can never, ever, ever be true that you don't belong. Never. It can never be true that you have nothing to give. It can never be true. Because if it was true, you wouldn't exist. Because creation doesn't make mistakes. Do you follow me so far?
Yes.
So, what's the difference? Let me ask the question this way. Maybe this will provide a little bit of illumination for you. You say there are times when you feel that you are capable of acting on your excitement and none of the fears are triggered. Yes?
Yes.
So the question is, what difference are you making between the times when that is true and the times that it's not? What difference are you making in the different circumstances? How are you defining this circumstance as so different from this one that you can experience joy here but fear here? What's your definitional difference in those circumstances? That's the question to ask yourself when you feel that, when you start to feel triggered. How am I defining this circumstance as being different than the one where I experience joy and I'm not reacting negatively to it? How am I seeing these things differently? That's what you need to explore. That's the process you need to go through to find out what your definition is that's generating the fear and generating the anger and triggering you to fight.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Now, you don't have to answer that right here and right now if you don't wish to, but you can. It's up to you.
Well, I think that maybe was the challenge, or what I was looking at as being a problem was not seeing it that way. I didn't actually ever look at it as the difference between when I was acting on my joy and when I wasn't, and looking at the difference. I was always just trying to figure out what negative belief do I have that is tripping me up.
But this is a way to find out what the negative belief is by making a comparative difference. Because obviously, if you are experiencing your joy, you have a very different definition about your relationship to that circumstance than you have about your relationship to this circumstance. Yes?
Yes.
So if you can find out what the difference in your definition is, you will find the negative belief.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Bashar.
Anything
Appreciate
else?
it. No, I think that's it.
All right. So go ahead and have fun. But the idea also is listen to how you speak. I'm not saying you have to walk on eggshells with your language, but very often you will find that your negative definitions will actually automatically come out in your speech.
Yeah.
Because when you say, I have a problem,
Right.
well, what can you do with a problem? Nothing. But if you say, well, I have an opportunity here, I have a challenge here, then you're back in charge. You can do something about that in a positive way, yes?
Yes.
So pay attention to the fact that you're automatically giving certain kinds of definitions to situations and circumstances and your relationship to them that don't necessarily serve you in the most positive way. So pay attention to how you're framing things and use the process of understanding the difference in your relationship to different situations. The negative belief will reveal itself if you're willing to hear the answer.
All right.
All right?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It is allowing oneself to have a deeper understanding of the term authenticity. Being your authentic self. What does that mean? Being true to yourself, being in alignment with yourself, your true signature frequency, of course. But it also means, really, as you say, putting it out there, really acting on your passion. The idea is that you have chosen to have a physiological experience, a physiological lifespan. That physiological lifespan plays out according to the theme and themes you have chosen to explore. And it is up to you to decide how you will explore them. Now, we are not saying that you cannot have an authentic life, have an extraordinary life, by being in a state of balanced peace. Of course you can. It doesn't mean that when we say it is important to act in your life, that you have to be running all over the world. You can be stable, peaceful, balanced in one location for the entire lifespan, if you wish. If that is true for you, really true. However, we recognize that because of the thousands of years of fears that have existed on your planet, that have embedded within many of you in your culture, your society, in your upbringing, the idea of definitions of diminishment, definitions of devaluation, definitions of the experience of disconnection, that many of you will not necessarily be acting as fully as you could be, will not allow yourselves to be your authentic beings. And now is the time to change that. As has been said, you know you are going through a transformation in this day and age. You know that it is about the idea of letting go of the things that are not you and incorporating the things that are. In the most profound, most artistically creative and expressive way possible. It is about getting out there and doing it, not holding back, not hesitating to be yourselves, your authentic selves. It is about being bold, adventurous, courageous, confident, curious, imaginative, excited, interactive, expressive, not holding back the gifts that you have to give, not depriving others of those gifts. Because while you may feel from time to time that you are seeking and searching for things, others also are seeking and searching for what you have to share, for what you have to give, for the expression of your true authentic self. When more and more and more of you are really allowing that authentic self to come to the forefront and to stand tall and to stand firm with your feet firmly planted on the ground and your consciousness raised to the heavens so that you stand in between that balance point of heaven and earth, as you say. And you allow yourself in that state of being, in that state of certainty, to really know it's all right, to really know it is your purpose, to really know that you can act, put forth, give out that gift, express that gift. And there will always, always, always be a reflection from those that have been seeking what you have to give. It may not come in the form you expected, but the unexpected is to be expected in your lives from this point forward. Allow yourselves to be prepared to turn left and turn right in unexpected ways, to go up, to go down, to go forward, to go back in unexpected ways. Follow the flow of the path of least resistance, no matter how it may wind, no matter how it may twist and turn through your life. For those twists and those turns are your trips, your adventures, your processes, your explorations, your discoveries of more of yourself. And were they not essential to understanding the fullness of your being, those twists and turns would not exist in the path that you are. They are there for a purpose. They are there for a reason. They are there to help you authenticate yourself, validate yourself, get reflections and reinforcements of the true being that you are. For as you put that out there, you will always get the reinforcement and reflection and support of creation that this is who you say you are. Creation will never contradict you, ever. It is not designed to do that. It is designed to support you unconditionally in whatever you say is your truth, and whatever you say is true for you, if it really is in alignment with your signature frequency. Always in living an extraordinary life, always, too, must you incorporate the idea of balance, gratitude, grace, appreciation, and always take the time, always take a pause, and always take a moment to make sure that you are being truly authentic, that you are not disguising your anxiety as excitement, not burying the idea of definitions that you are too afraid to look at, because you are afraid that if you go diving down to look at, to examine, and to explore and investigate those negative beliefs you may have about yourself, many of you may be too afraid to find out that if you go exploring, you will discover that those negative beliefs are actually true. I guarantee you they will never be true. They will never be true. For you are a co-creator. You are made in the image of creation. You are what gives life meaning. You are the reflection of the all that is exploring its unique self. And this idea of your extraordinary life and the authenticity is all based on the concept of your unique perspective. You are the only one of your kind. You will ever be the only one of your kind. And no matter how many other simultaneous, incarnational existences you may cross-connect to from the present, there will always only be one of you. You will always only have this one life to live as you. So live it to the fullest. Allow it to be what you designed it to be. Work in harmony, work in concert with your higher mind. For your soul being has, in a sense, set itself up as a duality and a trinity by creating the split of the non-physical higher mind and the physical mind, and the balance point in between. You function on all three levels simultaneously, and by allowing there to be that balance between the two, allowing the relationship between the physical and the higher mind to work smoothly, to let each other do the jobs you were designed to do, to support each other, to reflect to each other what it is you were designed to support and reflect, you will be functioning as a whole being, as a whole person, as your authentic self, as your adventurous self, as your extraordinary self. Anytime that you only allow your physical mind to control everything, to manipulate everything, thinking that is the only way to allow yourself to experience your self-empowerment, that it is the only way to allow your life to fall into place, anytime you allow only the physical mind to do that, you are functioning as a half person, not a whole being. In truth, in a sense, without the higher mind, the physical mind is literally a half-wit. So use all your wits. Use them the way they were designed to be used. Rely on the higher mind. It is standing on the mountaintop. It can see farther than the physical mind. It can see where you're going. It can see the path you are. The physical mind down in the valley is wandering to and fro. going around this outcrop and that outcrop, going down into that valley, crossing this river and that river, or that ocean and this ocean. And it can only see so far. It can only see to the physical horizon. But the higher mind is on the mountaintop. It can be all the way out into space, and it can look far beyond and guide you unerringly if you are willing to allow it to do so. And this is the point that we have discussed about your visualization of your life, your authentic life, your extraordinary life. It is absolutely, profoundly helpful to have that vision in your mind, that symbol in your physical mind of what represents to you that extraordinary life. Seeing yourself in all the places in the world that excite you. Seeing yourself clearly, viscerally, doing all the things in your life that you say are representative of your highest joy and your passion. Applying that and watching yourself thrive, watching yourself be creative, watching that version of you live a life of ecstasy and joy and calm and peace and contentment and confidence. But the idea, again, is that your higher mind, and only your higher mind, knows exactly what that's really going to look like, how that's really going to physically manifest. So by using the symbol to get yourself amped up into a state of excitement, because if you really connect to that visualization, you will feel like that is you. You will start to mirror, to mimic, to match the vibration, the body language, the actions, the choices that that version of you in that visualization is doing. You will behave like that version of you more and more and more. The more you key into it, the more you have that visualization. But that's just for the purpose of getting you to start behaving like that you, to exist in the state of being of that version of you, to feel the excitement and passion and peace and balance that exists within that version of you. And as soon as you feel that, as soon as it rises, as soon as it fulfills you, as soon as you radiate that frequency and you feel you're going to burst at the seams, you're so excited about that visualization of the ideal reality, the ideal, authentic, adventurous, extraordinary life. Drop it. Erase it. Blank it. Zero. Flatten it out. And go into the void, but keep the excited state. And then hand over that energy to your higher mind and let it take that energy and lay it out like a blanket upon the landscape. And let it show you what things need to now come to you, in what order, in what way, in what fashion, at what timing, with whom it is attendant. How it expresses itself. Perhaps it may look similar to what you visualize. Perhaps it will look nothing like it. But know for a fact that what it brings you next when you're in that state, if you stay in that state, will be exactly the thing you need for your extraordinary life, for the life to continue to be experienced in an extraordinary way. You are all capable of living your version of an extraordinary life. You all have it within you. And it's just an issue of letting it out. Letting that vibration leak into the world so that by example of living that life, you allow other people to see in your example that you are so ecstatic, living that extraordinary, adventurous, curious, imaginative, and creative, loving, passionate life, that they will come to you in droves. How did you do this? How are you living this way? How is this working for you? This is who I want to be. And you will inspire. And by your example, you will support their opportunity to have more option, to choose an extraordinary life themselves. Ignite each other. On your planet, in the practice and understanding known as Zen, they have an image that is exactly representative of what we are speaking of here. And it is the candle flame. Imagine this now. You are a candle, and you have lit your flame, and you are surrounded by unlit candles. As you take your candle, you can light all the other candles. Your flame never diminishes, but all the other candles ignite. And that flame grows and it spreads into 1,000, 100,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000 flames of their own. By the first flame, by your willingness to shine that inner light outwardly, do you give them an opportunity to take their candle and match the frequency of your joy and ignite their own candle, ignite their own flame, to allow that single flame to turn into billions of flames. At least the opportunity. Should some candles choose not to match that vibration, allow them their choice unconditionally. That is also part of your authenticity, part of your extraordinary life, to be so allowing, so unconditionally allowing, that others who may make choices that you can see clearly are out of alignment with their true selves. It doesn't mean you condone it for yourself. It doesn't mean you gloss it over. It doesn't mean you don't recognize that it may be a negative energy choice. But you also understand that even though some may always choose a negative idea and not have a deep understanding of the positive energy being offered to them, because of their own fear-based definitions, they may not know what to do with that. They may not know how to behave in alignment with that. They may choose negative behavior, even as a result of being exposed to the idea of a positive vibration. And you can recognize that and have the compassion to wish them well. You can share with them that they have alternatives, but should they choose not to take them, be unconditionally allow them to find their own way. You cannot force anything on anyone, for if you do, all you're saying is you don't believe in the power of what you believe in yourself. For the greatest power requires the lightest, gentlest touch. Look at all that is. It is so powerful, you hardly feel it at all. That's how powerful it is. It does not have any need to force itself upon you. God's will is your will, because you are all that is. If the idea of all that is forced its will upon you, it would be contradicting the creation that you are within it. You are created to be who you are as a reflection, as an experience of all that is. You are made of all that is. We are made of all that is. Everything is made from all that is. What need does it have to exercise its will on itself? The reason you say that God, Goddess, all that is omnipotent. The reason you say it is omnipresent and omniscient, the only way that can actually be possible is if it is everywhere, because it is everything in existence. So it does not contradict itself. You are the aspect you are for a reason. And without you, all that is would not be all that is. Cherish that uniqueness. Cherish that authenticity. Cherish that ability to express the unique point of view that you are. Cherish it. Don't ignore it. Don't damp it down. Don't deny it. Let it free. Let it out. Let it be the shining light that helps ignite 1 billion candles. And then your world will be alight with flame of creation. You will ignite the passion within yourselves simply by your proximity, simply by your enthusiasm, simply by your passion. For you all know that when you see someone so inspired, so passionate, you know you can feel the passion rising within you to match that frequency in your own way, to be inspired by them and to be your own version of that idea that they are expressing so passionately, so fervently, so creatively, so beautifully, so joyfully in their lives. Let your imagination run free. It is the conduit of communion between you and the higher mind. Express it in action because you are grounded in physical reality experience. And without that action, without that physical action, you haven't completed the circuit. Don't just be a spectator. Be involved. Be active. Put it out there. Some may not listen, but some will. And then others will listen to them. And others will listen to them. And others will listen to them. And so the perspective will shift and change. And as you then continue to shift billions of times per second through a multitude of parallel Earth realities, more and more and more and more, you will find yourself on course, shifting in the direction of the parallel versions of Earth that are more reflective, more representative of the changes you have made within yourself. And that will ultimately be the only versions of Earth you will experience. That is the path you are on. That is the direction you are taking. Were it not so, we would not be having these conversations with you. For not only does creation not make pointless creations, thus validating your very existence, we also only do what excites us the most, and we also don't do pointless things. Having these conversations with you, having first contact with your world, excites us beyond our ability to express, for you are family. And by forming these connections and allowing these connections, we are family growing together, expanding beyond what either of us can imagine we could become. And in becoming it, then we gain a new understanding and a new perspective of creation and all that is. But to be that expanded family, to be that extended family, to be that authentic family, to be that adventurous family, to be that extraordinary family, you must be the state of being of that family first. So come, join our family, and allow us to explore creation together in new and imaginative and startling ways beyond what you can presently conceive. Be your extraordinary selves. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. If anything, hold forward.